You know, folks, the whole world is talking about Bitcoin. Want to know why? Maybe it's because Bitcoin rose in value over 150% last year, and this is just the beginning. Bitcoin is online investing that anyone can do. Visit bitcoinuniversity.org today. Take a master class. Download the Book of Bitcoin and take your investment portfolio to the next level. Visit bitcoinuniversity.org and discover all that a Bitcoin can do for you. That's bitcoinuniversity.org, bitcoinuniversity.org.
From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
So let's talk some politics here about the whole situation, especially the themes, promises made, promises kept. Let's clean out the stables in Washington. Let's drain the swamp. We got David Webb, Fox News contributor, Sirius XM talk show host, and we're looking for Roger Stone someplace. You find Roger yet? Not yet. All right, we'll try to track him down. Anyway, David Webb, welcome back. Thank you very much.
Morning, Larry.
You know, I talked in my opening, promises made, promises kept, and these new cabinet picks are doing just that. I mean, Pete Hegseth, clean out the woke in the military. Matt Gaetz, clean out the Justice Department, clean out the FBI. John Radcliffe, clean out the CIA. I mean, these are things that Mr. Trump said he was going to do, and he's doing it. Vivek Ramaswamy and then the great Elon Musk going to clean out the federal budget. Boy, there's something that needs cleaning out. I mean, I think they're off to a terrific start. What do you think?
I think they are off to a terrific start, but go beyond this, Larry, which when you look at what are the next order of effects, the left wants to make this about Trump and his appointees, but Trump and his appointees are making it about the people having a government that works for them. When President Trump is out of office in 4 years, this needs to be in place. The people need to have a working government, not a government that spends $50 million on monkeys or payments to dead people or rampantly taxes and regulates so that business can't function in a better environment. And it's not, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, but there's a lot of important fruit to be picked here because you've got overlapping agencies, overlapping programs. You've got so much waste. You've got administrative bloat instead of efficiency with computing, with technology. There's a lot to be cleaned out here. And I really like the fact that for our 250th birthday on July 4th, 2026, they will have reached a terminal point, but that's just one of the major steps to the next set of efficiencies.
Yeah, well, they're going to go at it. They're going to go at it hook, line, and sinker. And, you know, these law enforcement agencies need to be cleaned out. These intelligence agencies need to be cleaned out. And they got tough people in now. We'll see. Matt Gaetz is so controversial. Everyone's yelling at Matt Gaetz. There were some charges made against him that were unproven. I'm not privy to these reports. I'm just saying they're unproven. But the point is, and I want to make this key, this is putting someone strong in justice is not about Mr. Trump and retaliation against his so-called enemies. He's trying to protect himself so that never again will career staff or other liberals in the Justice Department or the FBI, never again will they go after him. Right? Russia. It was a complete, utter hoax from the very beginning. What they did to him invading Mar-a-Lago, another complete hoax on documents. I mean, these things have all been dropped, as you know, as soon as he won a landslide victory. So whoever, he'll put in somebody else. And the other one is Pete Hegseth in the Defense Department, who himself is a great warrior, right? He a decorated veteran, Princeton, Harvard, etc., a great Fox broadcaster and communicator. We got to, we need a Defense Department that is not woke but is warrior, right? That was Pete's book. So to me, these are tremendous appointments.
They are, and in the case of Pete, I see the lies. Let's call them what they are. The lies about who he is. Someone who I've known for many years. Someone who is interested in getting rid of the woke, but really awakening the department to meet the challenges that we do face on multiple fronts. If you look at the instruments of national power, and when you look at what he manages, this is a federation of competing interests. That's what the SecDef manages, but they need to have the service chiefs in place. They need to have the right levels down from the E-ring outward to the bases around the world, and they need to rebuild the trust that comes with the legacy that is the military and having it ready to respond to the threats at any level. And that's where we need to be. We don't need to focus on somebody's pronouns or somebody's personal feelings, because when you go into the military, you raise your right hand. We all bleed red. We all wear the same flag, and that's what it should be.
David Webb, what's your take on the Matt Gaetz thing? Everybody's jumping on Matt Gaetz. Republican senators, everybody's jumping on him. He's a tough guy. Look, and by the way, William and Mary Law School, he was on the Judiciary Committee in the House. He's a 5-term congressman. A lot of people don't like him, I think, because he's a very tough, sharp-tongued conservative. But what happens with Gaetz, in your judgment?
Look, that's going to be a tough one, to be fair, because people seem to be aligning themselves without ever hearing the story.
Right.
They're working on allegations that were never proven.
Right.
And in that case, that's also wrong. In America, we are allowed to, we're supposed to have adjudication if there's an allegation, and there hasn't been an adjudication of this. Trump wants a tough pick. He wants someone who understands what's needed at the top, and this is why it should be judged. The left, the never-Trumpers, the elitists in Washington, the bureaucrats who are about to see their control eroded. Hey, if you want to quit because you don't like the guy or girl that's coming in on the Trump administration, or in this case, Matt Gaetz, well, then you maybe shouldn't have been there in the first place, because your job is to function as a part of the justice system, not a politicized justice system. And Gates' job, if he's confirmed, is to go in there and say, look, this is about justice. This is about the Constitution. This is about the things we face, the people we're here to protect, and not the people we're here to attack because somebody has a particular political point of view.
Yeah, 100%. You know what else you got? There's a whole cluster of people on foreign policy now. Elise Stefanik, UN ambassador, Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel, Steve Witkoff, Middle East envoy, all advocates, outspoken advocates for Israel. Mr. Trump for Israel. Not, yes, like Biden would say, I'm for Israel's right to defend, and then cut off the weapons, or go for some ceasefire that would help Hamas and or Hezbollah. You've also got Secretary of State Marco Rubio, an outspoken advocate of Israel, a guy who's very, very, very tough on China. But I really like this cluster: Stefanik, Huckabee, Steve Witkoff. You may not know him. I know Steve. Very smart fellow, real estate developer, Middle East envoy. I just really like that. We will straighten that darn story out in the Middle East and Israel with this group, I think.
There's a combination, right? You have to look at the team overall. I've known Mike for many years, as you have. I've been in Israel with Mike. I know the work he's done there. You look at the work the others have done. And it's not just about Israel. It's about stabilizing the Middle East, bringing back the effects of the Abraham Accords, and making sure that that stability, economic stability, military stability, if you will, the threats, the various threats that Israel faces, are threats to the stability of other nations that are there. Look at Jordan, Saudi Arabia. Look at Egypt, which has been through its turmoil with Mubarak, now El-Sisi. Look at the things that need to be done to have a stable region that actually has one of the most clustered, and talk about a body of water that is important to commerce worldwide, but is such a big problem. Those things need to be dealt with. And I'll go even further that Latin America is important here. And we need to deal with the Middle East. And when you have someone like a Marco Rubio, and you have Latin America that has to be pushed back. China has to be pushed back against in Latin America. They're operating in too many countries. Those leaders do not want this. They want cooperation in business. Then we've got to focus on a couple of key areas to counter China, and they're in both of those areas, Middle East and in Latin America.
Yeah, Marco Rubio is especially tough on China, which is great. You know what else? It just occurred to me in the Middle East. You got, with this cluster of people, again, Huckabee and Stefanik at the UN and Steve Witkoff and the president himself, first of all, they're going to shut down Iran's water, just shut them down again. There will be a full effort to stop them from either producing oil and gas or selling oil and gas, make them bankrupt again, bankrupt Iran again, no question about that. Bring Saudis into the Abraham Accord. That'd be the next step. They were almost there 4 years ago. The clock ran out. Biden didn't understand that Iran was the enemy. He appeased Iran. This new group under Trump is much, much smarter about Iran. We're going to, turn Iran's water off, bring the Saudis back into the Abraham Accord. I think that'd be a terrific play. That's a kind of thing that no one's anticipating, but would be an absolute game changer in the Middle East for peace. Because those countries, those Gulf countries now, they don't want Iran. They didn't like what Biden did with Hezbollah and Hamas and Iran and Israel. They would prefer to trade with Israel. They would prefer diplomatic relations with Israel. I mean, I think you have a real chance here to expand the Abraham Accords, bring the Saudis in, David Webb.
Well, yes, we do. And by taking Iran down even further, you also affect China and, in fact, Russia. You look at two of the other bad actors there. But these nations have sovereign interests, and those interests come first. With stability, you're right, they can trade. They can engage in intellectual commerce. They can engage in all forms of cooperation and maintain their sovereign interests. And, yes, there will always be some form of maybe dislike or not agreement or some form of minor conflict, but that is more natural and better managed if each are serving their individual interests. And you've seen this through various conflicts, Larry. When the Middle East is in conflict, in outward conflict or military conflict, commerce still continues. And that's something people over here may not look at. So that tells us that the foundation of stability is really commerce, trade, cooperation, and each nation's sovereign interests. And then we can maybe take a little bit of our resources and our focus and put it into other key areas that we need to.
But it'll be a strong pro-Israel tilt, finally, getting back to basics. Let me take a break, folks. We're talking to the great David Webb, Fox News contributor, Sirius XM talk show host. I'm Kudlow. We'll be right back.
Larry Kudlow. From Wall Street to the White House, this is the Larry Kudlow Show.
Nearly 1.3 million New Yorkers are struggling to feed themselves and their families. Please consider partnering with the WABC Foundation, AARP of New York, the Catholic Charities, and St. Francis Feeding the Hungry. There's so many hungry people. Help those in need, and with your help, we can. Last year, we fed over 10,000 families, and this year we're looking to do much more. Please go to redappleaudionetworks.com/turkey to feed the hungry this holiday season. We're on talking to the great David Webb, Fox News contributor, Sirius XM talk show host. David Webb, one little side story here. This is the FBI raids Poly Market, the guy who runs Poly Market here in New York City. Now, it's a pay-for-play political betting site. People in the U.S. are not eligible. It has to be done by foreigners. It had almost $4 billion worth. It predicted Donald Trump pretty much steadily in the last couple months of the presidential campaign. And then we read that the FBI, in an early morning pre-dawn, raids this guy's apartment in New York for no good reason. They say they're looking for electronic devices that might have suggested that Americans played or bet in that parlor. I mean, you could have just contacted his lawyer. This is just the most outrageous story, invading Poly Market's CEO. I mean, this is like the weaponization's last gasp, David Webb.
It sure sounds like it, Larry. And think about it. Why now? Because this has been in operation for some time. Are you telling me that the FBI, with one of the best internet crimes division in the world, with the technology, with all the things they can do with the Pegasus system, which they can use to get into any device, they couldn't even get a warrant, maybe at a FISA court if it was international, and go and do this ahead of time? It seems eerily, eerily consistent with the timing of their raids on other individuals.
Yeah, it's a very bad story. This whole issue here is a very bad story. And by the way, they didn't take the CEO. They didn't bust him. Let's see. Shane Copland is the CEO's name, and they didn't bust him. They didn't handcuff him. They just out of nowhere jammed through his apartment looking for stuff. And we don't even know what they found. I guess they took his computers and his cell phone. Anyway, this is like Banana Republic stuff, and I just wanted to raise this because I'm quite certain that one of the things President Trump wants to fix is exactly these kinds of pre-dawn raids for no good reason whatsoever, and other forms of weaponization and lawfare. So, David Webb, Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat. Robert, she's now nominated to be head of DNI, Director of National Intelligence. That's all of the intel gathering agencies. I think there's about 18 of them. She'd be the coordinator. John Ratcliffe had that job in Mr. Trump's first term. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Health and Human Services. And the Wall Street Journal, I was with Bob Kennedy Jr. for a while, Thursday down in Florida. Wall Street Journal took off after him. Betsy McCoy, on the other hand, has a great piece in the New York Post defending him. Like, we need a shakeup for unhealthy eating, processed foods. And here's another thing. These agencies, the National Institute of Health, NIH, diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay? The Centers for Disease Control, CDC, did not distinguish itself during COVID. The Food and Drug Administration is way too slow to do anything. I mean, I don't think, why can't Bob Kennedy give it some improvement over there at HHS? Why can't he deregulate? And it's interesting, David Webb, 2 Democrats in the Trump cabinet. Now, I know they left the Democratic Party, but this is a very interesting kind of unity thing, is it not?
It is. And, I would say it this way, and I have on my show, Larry, that it's 2 Americans, to use your term. They have different views on some things. I've followed Tulsi's career. I know Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s career and pathway. Remember, he was cleanup of the Hudson, his efforts, the companies he's founded or the organizations he's founded to do things that are good. You want people with principle, all right? You're a man of principle, and you act on that. And that's what we want people to do. We want them to also bring in the teams, which they've demonstrated they can do, and make sure that the president gets the best advice, the best results. But really, it's about the people, again, getting the best results. You've got 13 agencies that HHS interacts with, and this is the same group of people objecting to Robert F. Kennedy that don't object to the fact that the Biden-Harris administration can't account for reportedly some 300,000 children that were turned over to HHS. There's one starting point. I mean, everyone listening, think of an Amber Alert when a child is kidnapped, and here you have an administration that can't account for tens of thousands.
You get two, I know Bob Kennedy a good deal. I don't know Tulsi Gabbard, but it is interesting, the political side of this, David Webb. You've got two, we'll say former Democrats in the cabinet, and that's the first time, like, we haven't seen that in quite some time, almost a bipartisan cabinet. That opens the door for more Democrats, it seems to me, over a period of time. Whether they come into cabinet or whether they come into the administration, you're sending a signal that the Trump administration is open, to this kind of bipartisanship. So success breeds unity, Dave Webb. Last 20 seconds. Success breeds unity.
Yes, it does. And unity of mission will breed success for the American people.
There you go. David Webb, Fox News contributor, Sirius XM talk show host. We appreciate it very, very much. Folks, I'm Kudlow. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, Kash Patel is going to tell us about cleaning out the CIA and the FBI and a few other things that need cleaning out in Washington, D.C. Stay with us, please.
Eden Memorial Chapels understands Jewish funerals can take many forms. Some are Orthodox, while others are more conservative or of a Reformed nature. There's no one better. With services close to all New York and New Jersey cemeteries, Eden Memorial Chapels offer fair and balanced pricing and can provide easy transfer of you and your loved ones to Israel. While you're grieving, they're here to take care of all the details so that you deal with less bureaucracy and have more peace of mind. Go to EdenMemorial.com. That's EdenMemorial.com.